On June 9, 2024, 12 members of Friendship Force of Greater Lansing board a plane for a visit to one of the most beautiful countries on the planet, Switzerland. It would be a 2-week adventure, the first week exploring all that Switzerland has to offer through a commercial tour, and the second week digging deeper into Swiss culture, history, and sites as guests of Friendship Force of Solothurn, Switzerland. Our plane lands in Zurich. We exit the plane and claim our luggage. Our tour guide is waiting for us just outside the airport, and she takes a group picture, our first in Switzerland. She then leads us to our bus, which turns out to be a bit of a surprise. It's a huge 40-passenger bus. There are only 12 of us. Secondly, it has a name, Leonardo. Hello, Leonardo. We board the bus and head to town where we catch our first glimpse of Swiss architecture and sculpture. Unfortunately, we 12 Americans have gone 24 hours without sleep and need a brief break and some refreshment. So our first stop is for hot drinks and chocolate croissants. After this refreshing break, we are ready for our first tour in Switzerland. An introductory walk through parts of Zurich. First stop, the Vermünster Church, with its famous 5 stained glass windows by Marc Chagall. Only 3 are in a row, with 2 on either side, separated by part of partial wall. Strikingly beautiful and packed with color. Frühmünster, or Church of Our Lady, is one of the most famous churches in Zurich. It was built upon the remains of a former abbey for aristocratic women in 853 AD. Also noteworthy here is the pipe organ, soon to be featured in a concert beginning later this month. After departing the church, our tour guide seats us in a circle in the courtyard to give us more information about the area, including a surprising fact: the stunner that women were not allowed to vote in Switzerland until 1971. Did not expect that. Then, from the vantage point, our guide points out 2 nearby churches with beautiful courtyards and clock towers. We then walk through narrow cobblestone streets where we come upon a unique metal structure along the river. It is a model of the town designed so blind and sighted people can walk with their fingers through Zurich's winding streets. Now we are led to the river by our guide, where we settle in for a fun group photo along the water. The picturesque lanes of central Ostad, Old Town, on either side of the Lamette River reflects its pre-medieval history. Next stop, Lake Zurich. From the shore, we see a water fountain and dozens of small boats nearby, and a large ferry boat approaching. And, we looked it up, a cute red-crested Pochard duck, a new species to us that captures our attention. Then, back to Leonardo, which transports us to our hotel. Finally, we get to rest. A joyful conclusion to our first full and rich day in Switzerland. Actually, 2 days condensed into one.
Breakfast buffet at hotel before boarding the bus on our way to St. Moritz from Zurich. It's a misty, rainy day, but the weather does not obscure the beauty of the countryside and farms of this alpine country we are here to explore. Switzerland is half the size of Kentucky, and the Swiss are famously independent, declaring their independence in 1291. They are not part of the EU, and they use their own currency, the Swiss franc. Our first stop is at a rest area, which features a wonderful buffet, pizza, breads, dessert, etc. But we just had breakfast, darn. The bus ride to St. Moritz is about 2.5 to 3 hours. We enjoy the lush green scenery, pass through a few tunnels, and navigate switchback roads as we proceed. One memorable pastoral scene features lounging cattle on a green field with trees and snow-covered mountains as a backdrop. Beautiful. As we proceed, more mountains begin to appear, punctuated by streams, rivers, and glaciers. Traveling along Route 3, we pass by the town of Zurich, and then a lake comes into view, Lake Silvaplana, just as we approach St. Moritz. Next stop, St. Moritz, top of the world, where we check into our hotel, Hotel Noloa. We soon meet our guide, who escorts us to a map of the region and points out several noteworthy sites, and gives a little history of the area. First destination, Forum Pascalsis, noted for a bathing culture dating back to 1400 BC, characterized by ferrous, naturally carbonated, healing waters. We are given cups to sample this carbonated water from a natural spring fountain, then are shown where the bathing used to occur. But only remnants remain now. We return to the bus to explore the far side of Lake St. Moritz. Once again, beautiful scenic views of the lake with the backdrop of mountains. Switzerland may be a small country, but its mountains are mighty. A quote from Rick Steves. We pause briefly and gather round our guide as she tells us about the area. Heading back to St. Moritz, we pass a windsurfer sailing the chilly waters, and back in town, a 13th century leaning tower. It's tilting due to a creeping landslide. St. Moritz was once a training ground for Winter Olympic bobsledding. We pass a statue that commemorates this. The Winter Olympics were held in St. Moritz in 1928 and 1948. In the center of town, we exit the bus and enjoy a brief guided tour. The guide also stops at a camera shop so Bob can buy a camera to take photos because his wasn't working. We end the day with the delicious but very expensive dinner. Welcome to St. Moritz, the second most expensive resort area in the world. As we exit, Allison, dressed in several layers of warm clothing, poses before a painting in the lobby of people who were not, at no extra charge.
This morning, as we prepare for the day, we notice that just outside our hotel window lies an iconic Swiss scene, a flowing river with a mountain background. Good morning, Switzerland. Today is a special Swiss adventure day. Today we are going to ride the famous Glacier Express. The Glacier Express is a Swiss train known for its large panoramic windows that sweep halfway across the ceiling, offering unobstructed views of Swiss Alps scenery. It is also Europe's slowest train, allowing us to fully immerse ourselves in breathtaking vistas. We board the iconic Glacier Express a little past 7 a.m. Yes, we missed breakfast, but the hotel provided us with a bagged morning meal we brought with us. After departing the station, we see what appears to be a glacier in the distance, but quickly realize it's a huge cloud descending to the ground. We settle in for an 8-hour-long trek from St. Moritz to Zermatt, crossing 180 miles of southwest Switzerland, over 291 bridges, through 91 tunnels, and stopping at a few alpine villages. The entire time spellbound by some of the most beautiful scenery in the world. So please sit back and enjoy the mesmerizing views as we tell you a little bit about Switzerland. It has a unique and impressive story. Instead of states, Switzerland is divided into 26 cantons and 4 languages are spoken here: German, Italian, French, and Romansh. Despite different languages, diverse geography, many religious sects, and being surrounded by Europe's 4 major powers, France, Germany, Austria, and Italy, the Swiss federal system remains independent and still works cohesively today, forging unity from diversity. Our Glacier Express adventure ends at Brig, where we transfer to the Matterhorn-Gotthardbahn train headed to Zermatt. When we arrive in Zermatt, a no-cars-allowed town, we exit the train and roll our luggage downhill almost a half a mile to our next lodging, the Apart Hotel Arca and Naco Resort, in the shadow of the Matterhorn, our best accommodations yet. Thank you, Allison, our co-coordinator, for helping us find our hotel. With scenes of our Glacier Express adventures still dancing in our heads, we check in and proceed to dinner for food and conversation with our fellow Friendship Force travelers.
Today's highlight is getting a close-up view of the iconic Matterhorn Mountain, one of the world's most distinctive and well-known, also the tallest standalone mountain in Europe. Our guide Barbara meets us at the hotel and tells us we can either walk or take an electric bus to the first cable car station. We choose the walk so we can view Zermatt up close. Gathered near our hotel, we are immediately inspired to take out our phones and capture unexpected paragliders floating overhead and landing nearby. Whoa, gutsy. We then proceed to walk through Zermatt with our guide. Swiss flags hang from buildings that line the street, which has a mountainous backdrop. It's a beautiful day. People are out and about. We pass by a steepled clock tower, a variety of artwork here and there, the Matterhorn rising above rooftops, and a brief glimpse of an old town structure with the community library attached. Then another peak of the Matterhorn appearing to descend from the clouds. We cross over the Mater Vispa River, dotted with boulders running alongside the main street of town. This takes us to our first cable car station, which will transport us to our mission of the day, viewing the Matterhorn and its surrounding mountains. Our ascent to the Matterhorn Glacier Paradise with its viewing platform is a little adventure itself. It will take 3 cable cars to transport us there. We enter the first cable car and head to station number 2, where we quickly transfer to the second cable car. Exiting it, we see young skiers about to tackle the slopes as we wait to board the third cable car, which finally takes us to the last station. But there is still a bit of a trek to reach the viewing platform. We walk past the amphitheater, through an icy tunnel, to the elevator shaft, which transports us up to the outside walkway and stairs that eventually deposit us on the viewing platform at the top of the mountain. We finally reached our destination. The first thing we see is a crowd of people and a prominent crucifix. We managed to find a spot near the railing where Bob and I pose for a photo beneath the Matterhorn. Then we turn around to take in the glorious view. We are at the top of Klein Mountain, which means Little Matterhorn. It's from here that one gets the most panoramic view of the famous Matterhorn and surrounding mountains of Switzerland, Italy, and France. There are also 14 glaciers visible here, breathtaking. You lose yourself for a moment in this heavenly landscape, then wander about capturing it in photos, trying not to miss a single bit of all this beauty. Mission accomplished. We take time to enjoy it, photograph the mountains and each other in their mist, absorbing the grandeur and the awe. But we have a schedule, and before we leave the Glacier Paradise, there are ice sculptures housed beneath the glacier we don't want to miss. We leave the viewing platform and take the elevator down, and then walk 15 meters through the glacier ice tunnel to view beautifully created ice sculptures. Almost a fairy tale world of glistening ice designs. Humans, wolves, eagles, cattle. The artwork impeccable and beautifully preserved in its glacier icebox. The pieces are also updated regularly by ice artists. When we leave the ice sculpture display, our next destination is Old Town. We board the cable car that will take us there, and surprise, we see our first full view of Zermatt, looking down on it from above. To see Zermatt from this altitude changes your perception. What a view. And when we reach the bottom, the perspective changes again, with the Matterhorn back at center stage. After exiting the cable car, we walk along the river back towards Old Town. We pass a fountain dedicated to an important Zermatt figure, a mountain guide, Ulrich Inderbidden. He climbed the Matterhorn 371 times, the first time at 21 and the last time at the age of 90. He lived to 104. This monument is at the edge of Old Town, our next destination. Old Town, known as the Hinterdorf, is a delight to explore. There are about 30 buildings built in the traditional style of the Valais mountain farmers. The houses are up to 500 years old and date from the 16th to 18th centuries. They stand on stone stilts to keep mice away and are made of larch wood. The area around Zermatt is full of larch trees. The wood has a lot of resin, which makes it resistant to pests. The sunlight and weathering turns the wood black, so it stores heat well. The houses are roofed with heavy slabs of rock which compress the timber, making the construction more robust. These buildings have become a symbol of the history of Zermatt, yet still provide housing for workers today. Our final adventure of the day is a ride on the Gornergrat Cog Railway, the world's oldest electric mountain railway still in operation and built solely for tourist purposes. It is fully electric, 100% eco-friendly, and the highest open-air railway in Europe, reaching a height of over 12,000 feet. It also offers an incredible bird's-eye view of Zermatt, with the Matterhorn towering over its lakes, forests, mountains, valleys, and glaciers. It has only 5 stops, the last one also named Gornergrat. Here we find the Kulm Hotel, which in addition to lodging includes a restaurant, an observatory, and a meteorological station. There is also a small church nearby, which we briefly visit. And let's not overlook the Gorner Glacier, the 3rd longest in the Alps, and the Matterhorn itself, visible at its best angle here, often referred to as the golden spot of photography. Great for photos, right, Judy and Elaine? Also, perfect for a group photo. The Gornergrat Railway then returns us to Zermatt at the end of this unique and beautiful day. Randy and Lynn mark the moment with a pose before the Matterhorn and alongside the Matter Vispa River. We are all blessed to be here.
Today we leave our mountain paradise and board the morning train to the next destination, Tesch, where we transfer to our bus, which will take us the rest of the way to Montreux. Along the way, once again, the scenery is beguiling. Waterfalls, mountains, valleys, vineyards, small villages, and a striking basilica atop an ancient rock. Another striking morning in Switzerland. Our first sight in Montreux is the Chillon Castle, located on the shore of Lac Léman, also called Lake Geneva, further west near Geneva. This castle is a major tourist attraction here. We also get a better view of the lake with its mountain backdrop just before the bus drops us off in town. We walk through the open-air jazz festival pavilion, back to the lakeshore. Another great view. Soon we come across a statue of famed musician and performer, Freddie Mercury. I think Elaine is a fan. Bob and Pat as well. Freddie Mercury was an avid fan of Switzerland, especially Montreux. He is quoted as saying, "If you want peace of soul, come to Montreux with its serenity." In fact, he recorded his last album here. It was titled Made in Heaven. This statue commemorates his time in Montreux with one of his most iconic gestures. Perhaps you'll recall it from this song.
We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losing.
Next on the agenda is lunch, which we enjoy at this open-air structure, also on the shore of Lac Léman. After lunch, we make our way back to the bus. We find Randy and his harmonica jamming with a local violin buster on the pavilion steps, a little free entertainment. We pause to enjoy. One more brief stop. Souvenir shops filled with memorabilia and souvenirs are calling our names. Then as the bus transports us to our next destination, we pass by an unexpected preview. 2 large buildings covered with the huge murals of Charlie Chaplin, the musician, the comedian, the performer, in different guises and scenes. Great intro to Chaplin's World, the museum and studio, where we are now headed. When we finally arrive and exit the bus, we are standing before the home where Chaplin and his family lived for 25 years, the elegant and neoclassical Manoir de Ban, set on a 37-acre estate. Here we meet our guide, who hands each of us an earbud so we don't miss a word of her animated and heartfelt narration of the tour, which lasts 2.5 hours. When we enter the home, we are greeted by Chaplin himself, who seems to be excited to see us. We gather around him for a photo. We will find that every room here is filled with memorabilia and personal belongings. Every room features video clips from a Chaplin movie. Every room tells a story. This is not your typical museum tour. First, we visit the newsroom and the library. The library was Chaplin's favorite room and a refuge where he wrote more than 60 books, as well as composing the music and scripts for countless movies. From the chandelier hang rough drafts and handwritten notes from his many works. Actually, the background music playing now was composed by him. The sitting room is a testament to the importance of music in Chaplin's life. Chaplin's friend, a renowned Romanian classical pianist, Clara Haskell, was known to play here during intimate evening gatherings. In the dining room, we are told that the family would gather around this table at supper time. In the bathroom, we meet Albert Einstein, a friend of Chaplin's. He appears to be looking into a mirror, but as we stand beside him, there's no reflection of us. We realize there's an opening in the wall, and the replica of the statue looking back at him is from an identical bathroom in reverse. What a trick! What a surprise! It brings Einstein's comment to Chaplin, and Chaplin's clever retort. In 1931, Einstein said to Chaplin, "What I admire most about your art is its universality. You do not say a word, and yet the world understands you." "It's true," replied Chaplin, "but your fame is even greater. The world admires you when no one understands you." After our encounter with Einstein, in the hallway we find a genealogy chart that lists his 4 wives, 11 children, and countless grandchildren. We briefly pause in Chaplin's personal bathroom, where we see a reproduction of a famous scene from the film A King in New York. The next room is dedicated to the hundreds of brilliant men and women that Charlie met during his career. Their photos line the walls. We join Una and Charlie as they reminisce about their family at the Manoir. Now we leave Chaplin's home and enter his studio. From our theater seats, the images on the screen transport us to the iconic sets of Chaplin's films, inspired by his childhood in London. Then, the screen ascends and disappears as we find we are actually on Easy Street. We rise up and make our way to Chaplin's childhood street, which inspired much of his career. A walk down Easy Street is a walk through Chaplin's career, reminiscent of his renowned movies. He is known to have created over 80. The Circus, Chaplin's last silent film in which he flees into a ring of a traveling circus and becomes the star of the show. In the movie Modern Times, Chaplin creating chaos on an assembly line in a film honored by the Library of Congress for its cultural, historic, and aesthetic significance. The Great Dictator, Chaplin's first talkie and daring caricature of Adolf Hitler. Oddly, both men sported similar distinctive mustaches, which Chaplin took a note of and commented on here. And here's Charlie Chaplin, a rebellious maverick, ending up in a police station along with Elaine. Wonder what she's in for. Our last stop is a cabin Chaplin designed for his movie, The Gold Rush. It supposedly rests on a mountain ledge and sways back and forth, just like this. We all gather around a table inside the cabin for a group photo, while Chaplin crouches beneath it to be safe. So ends our visit to the wondrous world of uniquely multi-talented Charlie Chaplin. We soon board the bus for our next adventure and say farewell to Montreux. Our route is along Lake Geneva, which will take us to renowned Geneva itself, a little more than an hour away. Shortly we arrive at the NH Hotel, our lodging for the next 2 nights. Time to rest before another full day.
The next morning, our guide Anna meets us at the hotel for our tour of Geneva. Geneva, one of the most socially and historically significant cities in Europe, is sometimes called the capital of peace, as it houses headquarters for over 100 international organizations of diplomacy and humanitarianism. These include the United Nations, the Red Cross, the World Trade Center, the League of Nations, and the World Health Organization, to name just a few. Our first close-up view is of the International Red Cross headquarters. The Red Cross was founded in Geneva, and its symbol closely resembles that of the Swiss flag. With Red Cross on our minds, we approach the giant broken chair, a work of art which symbolizes the campaign against landmines and cluster bombs. It is the work of sculptor Daniel Bursert, constructed in 1997 for the NGO Handicap International, co-recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize that year. Next site, the United Nations European headquarters, with its striking row of colorful international flags, a large part of the UN family called Geneva home. Next, the neoclassical Villa Rigaud, on the edge of Lake Geneva, which has played several historical roles: home for the Red Cross during World War II, shelter for Hungarian refugees in the 50s, and annexed to the Museum of Art and History from 1968 to 1975. Today, the Villa Rigaud is primarily a venue for cultural events, concerts, exhibitions, workshops, and conferences. We board the bus for our next destination, Jardin Anglais Park. On the way, we pass a busy street market, drawing a crowd of interested customers. We exit the bus and make our way to the Jardin Anglais fountain. Our guide explains how the fountain works, its history, and notes its creator, French artist Alexis André. Moving on, we pass by a wooden sculpture carved from a giant sequoia tree. It represents the key and the eagle of the Geneva coat of arms. We pause for a few photos. Now, onto the world-famous flower clock, built in 1955. It is made up of thousands of plants, changed seasonally. It is the largest flower clock in the world, the most photographed, and the most accurate, recording time with Swiss watchmaking precision. Its electronic time setting controlled via satellite, and it has the world's longest second hand. The clock is a national monument commemorating Geneva's integration into the Swiss Federation. Leaving the Jardin Anglais, we walk to the waterfront of Lake Geneva. Then before us, rising 140 meters into the air, is the Jet d'eau de Geneva. This plume of water, higher than the Statue of Liberty, our guide informs us, was originally a safety valve for the hydraulic power system, but now is reproduced mainly as a tourist attraction. Across Lake Geneva, we sight a cruise line vessel, which we will be taking later today. Also, a coot, the black water bird with a white bill and a mute swan relaxing on the water. can't leave this notable, sight-filled place without a group photo brimming with happy smiles. It's a bit of a walk to our next destination, Old Town, with Swiss and Geneva flags waving overhead, and our guide pausing periodically to point out notable structures. We are walking uphill to a nearby church, its steeple rising above the rooftops, St. Pierre Cathedral at the highest point of Old Town. When we enter, we are in a very spacious interior, but oddly somewhat plain, with circular chandeliers overhead and narrow stained windows initially. Later, we see larger, more decorative windows and chandeliers. Previously, this church was Roman Catholic, but is now the home of John Calvin, a leader of the Protestant Reformation. This cathedral has an interesting history. The first structure, built between 350 and 375 AD, was struck by fire in the year 500. The present structure was begun about 1160 AD. In Gothic style, construction lasted almost a century, but much of the colorful decor was removed during the Reformation. In 1535, Catholic Mass was abolished in Geneva, and the cathedral came under Protestant control. It became known as St. Peter's Temple, Saint-Pierre in French. Over the centuries, this temple has become more than a place of worship. It houses civic functions and government oath-taking ceremonies. It is also a place of refuge and training for clergy. It is the true heart of the city. We exit the church enlightened and better informed. But there is one more stop in Old Town, the Old Arsenal. It is a small covered area, free to visit, which displays ancient cannons and mural frescoes, a window into Geneva's rich military past. The murals feature key periods in the city's history, including the arrival of Julius Caesar in 58 BC, fairs of the Middle Ages, and the arrival of the Huguenot refugees. Our last stroll through Geneva streets takes us to the final adventure of the day, a cruise on Lake Geneva. As we approach the waterfront, a giant Ferris wheel looms before us. What a great way to view Lake Geneva. After boarding and leaving the dock, the jet d'eau sprays our boat. Good afternoon, Jet. Peering through the water drops, now covering our windows, we first see a large marina filled with sailboats. Then a brave soul windsurfing. More windsurfers. Then our attention shifts to the shore, lined with beautiful, elaborate mansions. We relax and enjoy the beauty of Lake Geneva, and soon are headed back to the dock. On the opposite shore, we pass a park, the United Nations headquarters, the World Trade Organization, and exquisite architecture. Back on land, we are bused to our hotel, which has a McDonald's nearby, comfortably close for dinner. Embarrassed to say, that's where we have dinner tonight. What a rich, wonderful tour of Switzerland for our Friendship Force Club. This pre-exchange tour ends tonight with a final group photo. Tomorrow, we meet the Friendship Force Club of Solothurn and begin Phase 2 of our Swiss adventure.